Greetings everyone, and welcome aboard for our next edition of Just Another Day in Paradise, the ongoing refit of Sophisticated Lady. In today's edition, we're meeting with Bob Phillips, owner of Doyle BVI here in the British Virgin Islands. And he's coming on board Sophisticated Lady to take down our current sails, have a look at them, do some measuring, and make some recommendations for the replacements of our sails. Then we'll take you on a side trip over to the beautiful island of Barbados, where we'll meet Dana Seymour, who owns Doyle Caribbean, and they're actually the manufacturer of all the sails. And of course, we can't go all the way to Barbados and not do a little sightseeing, so we'll have a few fun things to show you also. But first, let's get back to Bob in the British Virgin Islands and learn a little bit about the art of sailmaking.
We have been instrumental in developing a line of sails called Ocean Plus, which is specific to our conditions. There's special fabrics woven for us in Germany.
Now define our conditions.
Our conditions are actually, while everybody thinks of Paradise as being a bit benign, is actually a harsh environment for sails. The boats are used year-round, day in, day out. The sun is intensive, the UV is intensive, there's always breeze, there's sea conditions, you're out in open ocean, and the sails take a beating. And especially when you get down island, where the conditions are 25 to 30 knots, normal, it's just brutal on sails.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. You see the race boats with their black sails, with their really fancy gear, and the cruising boats, unfortunately, like to think that that's the latest and greatest, and they should have it too.
Well, that's what I had on my boat before I went to the Doyle Offshore Ocean Series, and they were great when they lasted, but that's exactly what happened when we were in Haiti. We got into a storm with Mylar sails, and we had lost our autopilots. We were hand steering, and I'm teaching new people how to steer and everything because we're steering through the night and everything, and during the night we had a gust come up behind the boat, and they pulled up, came upwind too much and went across and then whipped back. And when the boat whipped back, it jibed. And when it jibed, I mean, in a 50-knot gust, the boom came across, the mainsail just went right up against all the shrouds, immediately just snapped all the battens and just shredded the sail from the inside out.
Right, so we're going to take this sail down.
Okay.
We're going to go over it with you, and we're going to show you the differences between what you've had and what you're going to have. And then we're going to measure for the new one. We're looking good. We are. All right, so this is J dimension is 18.8. What is starting to happen here is the warp threads are starting to deteriorate. While this isn't that bad yet, it's still, in a fairly short period of time, the whole back end of the sail is going to start to fail as these little tiny warp threads give up. So as much of the sail as possible, we want to make it hand repairable in the field. Because if you're, some little South Pacific island, in fact, there's quite a number of the Caribbean islands in which there are no resources, you need to be able to take care of it. Haiti being one of them. It's not unusual to receive an email going, Bob, we stuck a spreader through our sail, what do we do? We're down in, Patagonia, and it's... Well, I recommend they carry 3M 5200 with them. Keep it in the freezer if you open the tube, because you can glue a patch on and it'd be stronger than hand stitching. So the Ocean Plus sails are going to be as easily repaired in the field as is possible to make them. And if you ever have an issue, we'll come up with a solution.
Good to know.
Right, Rick, your boat is one of the nicest boats on which I've ever sailed. I've not sailed your boat, but I've sailed a sister ship, the Jeanneau 50.
Yeah.
It's a Bruce Farr design. It's a very powerful boat. It does need some horsepower, i.e. sail area, but once it gets moving, it's very, very easily driven. The sail size I'm going to recommend is 120%.
Okay.
The sail you've had is 130% with a clew somewhere around here. So I want to go to 120, and I want the clew at head height standing on the cabin top.
Okay.
This is going to give you good visibility. It's going to give you lots of space for waves to pass under the foot and not slam into the foot, distorting it. It's going to roll up really well. The last thing you need is too big a sail.
Right.
It just overstresses the equipment, the winches, the blocks, the boat, the rig. So having the proper sail for cruising is very important.
So Bob made some good points about adjustments that should be made to the design of the current sail set for integration into the next set. I'm a very hands-on guy, as most of you already know, so once the decision was made to go with Bob's recommendation, I also decided to fly down to Barbados where the factory is and see how the sails were actually made. This was a great opportunity for me also because Barbados is one of the few Caribbean islands I haven't been to yet, so it would be great to do a little exploration of some place I hadn't seen. This is Kwame, and he works with Dana at Doyle Caribbean headquarters here in Barbados. Kwame is big into the sail racing circuit, and just so happens there was an international racing regatta here in Barbados the same time I was here.
We're hosting this year the 2016 GP14 Worlds. It's the first event of that size for us here in Barbados. It's 105 boats on the start line. Barbados itself, we have about 8 to 10 entries. We're hosting again a lot of the families of the sailors. So far, all the reports are they're having a great time here on the island. They're used to much colder conditions. The last World Championships was held in Northern Ireland.
How's the weather look today?
More than yesterday, and apparently they've moved the race in closer, so that'll be better for us. Let's see. But we're getting through. We're in the middle.
Oh, good luck, you guys.
Thank you so much.
So that was a fun way to spend an afternoon, and then on the way back to the Doyle headquarters, I found out that Kwame was also one of the engineers responsible for the massive solar project installed on the roof of the building. They have well over 100 panels generating well over 33 kilowatts of power, and all used to offset their use of the grid system and decrease their carbon footprint.
The two yellow units are the inverters, which basically take the DC voltage from the panels on the roof and converts it into AC. And then those two inverters feed into another AC distribution panel. So basically that takes the voltage from the two sets of panels, because one set of panels feeds one inverter and then another set feeds the second inverter. So basically what this panel does is it combines the two systems.
And as many of you guys already know, I'm always about trying to find others to deal with that are also trying to reduce their emissions. So now it was time to go up and meet Dana in Command Central and learn about their process of designing the sails on the CAD system. So we are here with Dana now. He's going to show us on the computers their software that they actually use for designing the sails that we're going to be putting on Sophisticated Lady. So how does it work? Do they send you the specifications on the sail?
Correct.
After they've measured the boats? Bob was on the boat, he measured it all up.
I received all that information. We take and start the design process with the information that we get from Bob for Sophisticated Lady, and this is the first stage of designing the sail from the information that we gathered from Bob. This is the mainsail here that has come up. It's a 5-battened main with 2 reefs. Sail pack allows us to look at the sail quite like you would see it on the boat. If you see how I can rotate and manipulate this sail.
So you've created a 3D model in 3D space, basically.
It is a 3D model, that's correct. And all these panels and all the luff curves and leech curves and foot curves go onto this shape. Each panel will be cut on the cutter with the specific designed shape parameters for that panel of that shape screen. And when you total the total sum of all those shapes will make up the final design. And we manipulate this sail shape so that we can see everything before we build the sail.
So instead of having to bring the sail back to the loft, recut it, stitch it all back together again, make all your trim there, they just do it right here and then the computer just cuts it out one time.
We do it in CAD, we don't do it on the boat.
So the next part of the process is to take the digital files from the design computer upstairs and transfer them to the cutting room table downstairs.
This is the aeronaut cutter that we're going to be cutting the Sophisticated Ladies Genoa on now. The sail cloth will be rolled out on the cutter, and the machine will cut each individual panel with the exact taper that the shape screen wanted the sail to end up looking like. In the old days, we used to use chalk line and battens on the floor. This machine allows us to do everything standing up. It does it maybe 4 or 5 times faster, and it never, ever, ever gets tired. So the vacuum is what's sucking the cloth down onto the table. This is going to allow it to stay in one position so that the XY arm of the cutter can do its two-dimensional thing accurately.
The next sail we saw lined up for the cutting table was a cruising spinnaker. We don't have a spinnaker in our order yet, but after today, we're thinking about it.
Katrina is joining the panels with a specific adhesive tape. When the sail leaves this position, it's glued as one sheet with a sailcloth with the correct shape, the correct 3 dimensions of the luff, leech, and foot, and the 3 corners in the correct proximity to each other. This is where those glued panels are sewn together permanently. They are long, long rows of stitching that joins every panel to complete the sail and have it in one sheet of Dacron sailcloth fixed permanently. In this area we call patch. It's an area where we take the sail out of second layout and we add the reinforcing edges and corners to the sail so that the single layer of sailcloth will be able to take the high loads that the wind induces on the sail.
So with all that done, the last remaining thing was to stitch on the UV sun cover, which was put on in my favorite color of turquoise to match Sophisticated Lady's color scheme, and then lay the sail out to do a final measuring, to make sure that it was going to line up with all points on the boat as per Bob's measurements. Next, Dana proceeded to explain some of the sail's newer features to me, including my new favorite.
This is the overhead leech line, right here with a block. Comes out of a tunnel that runs all the way down to the tack of the sail.
For those of you unfamiliar, the leech line is used to tension the aft edge of the sail to keep it from flogging in high winds. Traditionally, the leech line is only adjustable from the clew of the sail, which is always outboard the boat. And if you've ever tried to hang off the side of a boat in crappy conditions, which is usually the only time it needs tensioning, you know what I'm talking about. Now it's adjustable from right here on the tack of the sail, which is at a fixed point on the boat at the bow.
We have a 3-to-1 purchase. Okay, so it's very easy to adjust. Very little tension on the cleat because of the 3-to-1, nice smooth running.
Another great update is the replacement of the foam luff with a piece of polypropylene rope. The problem with the foam is that over time it always gets saturated or compressed, and then it causes distortion in your sail shape and negatively affects sail shape in the crappy conditions that you really need it to work.
3/4 inch polyprop rope starts at the bottom of the head patch down here and adds bulk to the sail to allow the sail to flatten when it is furled. If there isn't something to take up that bulk, the sail actually gets deeper, and that's not what you want to happen when you're trying to reduce horsepower.
So with the Genoa complete and rolled up ready for shipping, we move on to the new cradle cover. The cradle cover is made to fit over the boom, and it's what catches the sail when it comes down and stores it in a completely UV protected bag so the mainsail can stay out of the sun when not in use.
This is the cover on the inside. We line it with 8-ounce Dacron to ensure that the acrylic does not wear. It's to make the cover last longer. It's to give it a little body, a little stiffness, and it's certainly much better for chafe as the sail drops into the cover and pulls out of the cover. This chafe is taken care of by an 8-ounce Dacron that is lined the entire distance of the cover.
And last but certainly not least, Sophisticated Lady's newly completed mainsail.
This is Sophisticated Lady's mainsail. It's just been out and checked over, measured. All the bits and pieces, components and everything are correct. I'd just like to point out a couple of features that we are very proud of in this sail. One is the same overhead leech line, very important. You don't have to go out on the end of the boom this time to adjust the leech line. It runs down a tunnel that comes all the way down from the head, sews at the clew, up over the leech, around, and is adjustable at each of the reef positions. This will allow you to adjust it at any reef or when the sail is out full. The sail has 5 full battens, an Antel luff car system, which will fit onto these intermediate webbings. These are flat battens. We prefer flat battens for monohulls because the battens are easy to ship in the Caribbean or anywhere else in the world.
We are so confident in the Ocean Plus product that we give it a 5-year warranty. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, all you have to do, we would prefer you use a Doyle loft, but if there isn't one, use whomever you find. we pay the bill, done.
So it's been a great experience here at Doyle today, and I learned a few things too, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Now with Sophisticated Lady's new sails packed, wrapped, and ready for shipping, it was time to go out on the island and find some rum. Any pirate worth his weight knows you can't go to a new island and not search out the local rum. Barbados is home to Mount Gay rum, which for years has been one of my top favorites. So Dana brought me down to the factory where we could try some samples of their new varieties, including one I'd heard of but never seen, the 30-year-old 1703. But they don't serve the 1703 at the rum tasting because it's over $100 a bottle. So for that, you gotta go to the bar. We were both game, so off we went to try something new. Needless to say, I was hooked. So looks like this is gonna be my souvenir from Barbados. Alright, so this is the 1703. This is going to be the most expensive bottle of rum I've ever bought, but how can I say no? It was delicious, and I'm going to take this back to my crew in St. Martin, and this is what we're going to toast tomorrow night when I get back there. Alright, watch out crew, here I come! So, with a bit of good rum in our bellies, and being it was Friday, it was time to have some fun. And every Friday night, the locals all love to come together and just hang out together in a street party and a fish fry. But as all good things must come to an end, so arrived my last day on Barbados. It's been a great stay, and it wasn't quite time to go to the airport yet, so Dana took me over to one of his favorite watering holes on the beach, and we had a last beer. I want to extend a very special thank you to Dana and family and the entire crew down at Doyle Caribbean for a very informative and enjoyable stay here in Barbados. Thanks again, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and learned something too. Be sure and keep an eye out for future episodes where we're going to have lots more coming with our complete electrical system upgrade, solar panel upgrade, the entire cockpit, Dodger, Bimini, and windows, and of course the receiving, installing, and testing of our new sails.
Cheers. Here's to Barbados. Next time.